Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today we'll be talking about the New York Jets closing in on a deal for cornerback Logan Ryan. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. You could also subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts and call in, leave me your voicemails, and I'll answer them on the show. New episodes drop every Monday. So now that we got that out of the way, let's just jump right into the topic, which Manish Mehta is reporting. The New York Jets are closing in on a one-year deal with cornerback Logan Ryan, who spent the last couple of years with the Tennessee Titans and Mike Vrabel. He was with the Patriots beforehand. He's 29 years old and definitely someone who can be a cornerback one. He had a 64.9 Pro Football Focus grade in 2019. The year prior, in 2018, was a little bit better in terms of Pro Football Focus grading and was a 71.6. He had 18 passes defended, which was the third most in the NFL, 4 interceptions last year, 4 forced fumbles last year, 8 quarterback hits. The guy was all over the field. He was attacked a lot. So if you look up some numbers, he was definitely someone who was towards the top of the league in passing yards allowed. But he had a million targets. Opposing quarterbacks, time and time again, went to his side of the field, and he held his own. He was pretty good for the most part. And he came up with some big plays. He caused 8 turnovers last year. That's insane. That's one every other game. So what this signing does is it makes him your number one corner and bumps Pierre Desir down to cornerback number 2, which is a little bit more palatable role for him. I think he would have been slightly over his head as cornerback number 1, and it just adds depth to a positional room that really needed depth based on last year. So Ryan's your starting outside corner. You also have Pierre Desir and Brian Poole in the slot. Those 3 guys are 3 pretty solid starting caliber cornerbacks. The only thing is all 3 of those guys are on one-year deals. So how many of them, if any, are long-term building blocks? I think that's what we're going to be able to find out in 2020. I wouldn't necessarily bet on Ryan or Desir being long-term options. I would lean a little bit more towards Brian Poole being someone the Jets would look to retain and extend. But if we're just looking at the surface on 2020, this Jets defense should be really good, and the cornerback room is becoming a real positive about this team, which was such a negative last year. Outside of those top 3 guys, you still have some really solid depth. You have Bless Austin, Arthur Mollett after that. Those 2 started last year at times and were very, very good. Bryce Hall, who you just drafted this year in the 5th round, looks like someone who could be a starting outside cornerback at some point in his career. Probably not this year, obviously, but he's a developmental piece. Quincy Wilson you just traded for, Nate Hairston, and you signed undrafted free agent Lamar Jackson, who I think has a shot at making the roster. You have really good depth at this position, which is, hats off to Joe Douglas for getting this done. That seems like a phenomenal move for, again, a position of need. Now, I definitely look on the offensive side of the ball a little bit more because that struggled so much more versus what the defense was last year. But with the schedule the Jets have, they have definitely improved their defense on paper. Maybe they aren't 10th again in defensive DVOA like they were last year because the schedule's tougher, but they are setting themselves up to be able to hold their own defensively against a very, very tough schedule. And Greg Williams is going to get a lot out of this unit, which is something that I'm really excited about. Defensively, I'm really not too worried at all. I know edge is still a position of need for this team. They don't really have a good edge presence, but other than that, this 2020 unit should be a lot of fun to watch, and adding a guy like Logan Ryan just, again, adds more competition to the room and makes it that much better. Let me know what you think about this signing down below in the comments or on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll talk to you next time.